We had a unanimous number one for a solid week, but chaos reigns supreme as 8 teams ranked in college basketball's top 25 go down, including numbers 1 and 2. So here's a look at the latest AP poll. Purdue staying on top, followed by Houston, Alabama, and Arizona. Texas shoots up 5 spots to number 5. Tennessee dropping 4 to number 6. Marquette joining the top 10. K-State dropping 5 spots to number 12. Gonzaga falling 4 spots to 16. Indiana up 3 to 18, Miami up to 19, and dropping out of the rankings are Auburn and Clemson. So let's bring in Isaac Trotter to break down the headlines here. Isaac, the Hoosiers defense in Assembly Hall, too much for the top-ranked Boilermakers. However, Purdue's 22-2 record and overall body of work presumably are what keeps them at number 1. Your thoughts on the upset?
I thought Indiana had this one coming. It felt like this was an Indiana team that started to peak at the right time, and we saw their best version, their A-plus half, especially in that first half when they jumped out to a 50-35 lead. And again, it starts and ends with Trayce Jackson-Davis. He's been fantastic for this team this year. Last week, we talked about how improved he was as a player, and this week he showed it just again, like going toe-to-toe with Zach Edey. And Zach Edey might have gone off, but I still thought Trayce Jackson-Davis's defense was honestly really impressive. He had like 5 blocks in that game, and he doesn't just block shots, he like annihilates shots. He just abuses opposing teams on the defensive end. And Zach Edey got his. He's going to do that against everybody. But the rest of this Indiana team is really starting to round into form. And Jalen Hood-Schifino is playing off Trayce Jackson-Davis so well so far this year. He's a freshman who I think is starting to look like Ayo Dosunmu, a former All-American candidate out of the Big Ten who played at Illinois, where late in games, Jalen Hood-Schifino is totally comfortable. He's right at home. He has ice in his veins, and he came through with some big buckets late to seal that win against Purdue. So this is an Indiana team that's starting to reach the ceiling that we thought that they had in the preseason. They look like a team very dangerous, capable of making a deep run in March. And the rest of the schedule in the Big Ten is going to be tough, so they might take some losses, but I'm still as high as I've ever been on Indiana so far this year. And Saturday's performance just kind of backed everything up that we thought that this team was building toward. So Mike Woodson has something really, really special cooking with this Indiana team. Trayce Jackson-Davis, Jalen Hood-Schifino, that 1-2 punch is just so hard to stop.
Yeah, really fun matchup, and we will get the rematch on February 25th. All right, another big upset of the weekend belongs to Iowa State. The Cyclones knocking off Kansas, snapping a 2-game skid, and staying a perfect 12-0 at home. But Isaac, maybe the most impressive part here was how the Cyclones bounced back after that Texas Tech loss. Didn't let it affect them. So what do you like about Iowa State this season?
Yeah, TJ Otzelberger does such a good job of getting his guys to buy into this culture. And I think at Hilton, I honestly think that Iowa State could hang with the Lakers for a long time. You bring LeBron James, you bring Anthony Davis in there at Hilton, and Iowa State's going to find a way to be really competitive because they feel like they can beat anybody in that building. And Tamin Lipsey, the freshman, flirted with a triple-double against Kansas, and that was such a culture win for Iowa State. And the culture, it says a lot about his culture too as a player after his atrocious second half against Texas Tech. Just to the way he showed this veteran moxie to come back and play at a high level against a good Kansas team, just showed how special of a player he might be. And this is still an Iowa State team that I think we don't talk enough about how they lost Jeremiah Williams, one of their star transfers that was supposed to be their starting point guard and an ace on the defensive end for them. He suffered an Achilles injury in the preseason. And even after that, they found a way to hit their stride and be one of the better teams in the Big 12. And this is a team for the second straight year, they're picked at the bottom of the league. Tune in next year, they're probably going to get picked at the bottom of the league again, and TJ Otzelberger is going to find a way to make this team super competitive and stick in the Big 12 race.
Iowa State can hang with LeBron and the Lakers. All right, we're coming in with the hot takes today. But, you're pretty good at calling the shots here because last week you had Gonzaga as your overrated team. That statement holding true. The Zags falling in overtime to St. Mary's, who is now 2 games up in the West Coast Conference standings. How are you feeling about the Zags now?
I'll be honest, I got a little bit lucky with that one because St. Mary's, I felt like this win for St. Mary's says a whole lot more about them than it did about Gonzaga. And it was Aiden Mahaney's welcome to college basketball moment for the prime national media members, the prime national stage. Everybody was watching that game and he just came alive in the second half. But this is a freshman that's been doing it all season long. He's had big shots. He's not scared in the moment. He's able to get really good shots for St. Mary's late. And when you combine that like that type of ace in the hole that they have late, combined with this elite defense, this is a St. Mary's team that can play with anybody. And now they have a 2-game lead over Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference standings with just a few games left to play the rest of February. They have a really good chance to knock Gonzaga off of that West Coast Conference crown for the first time in a really long time. And Mahaney's a huge reason why. I think this team is legit, though. They defend, they have a star, they have one of the best coaches in college basketball. And I don't think anybody wants to see St. Mary's in the NCAA tournament. This is a team that waxed Indiana last year in the tournament. I think they're primed for another deep run, and Mahaney is a big reason why. Now I'm not really ready to put him on like that wall of like all-time great St. Mary's guards with Matthew Dellavedova and Patty Mills yet. Like, let's let him finish his freshman year and let's see what else he has in his bag. But my God, like, he is unbelievable, and he's only going to get better as the season goes on.
All right, calm, cool, and collected. That's the message that Jim Larrañaga always gives his players, and Miami needed every bit of it in a close one against Clemson. The Canes coming off an upset against the ACC leaders. Why is Miami your underrated team?
I just think this team is built for March. You can look at their advanced metrics, and the defensive numbers aren't very good, but in March, and we saw it last year, when you have multiple ball handlers that can go get you 20 or 25 points, that's so huge. And Nigel Pack was a Kansas State transfer that was one of the most popular names this offseason. I mean, they paid him $800,000 to come to Miami for 2 years. That was well documented. And he started slow, but he has started to come on in a big way. He's shooting over 40% from three now. Isaiah Wong, still one of the ACC's best guards. And then Norchad Omier, the Arkansas State transfer, is one of my favorite players in college basketball. He's 6'7", he's 245. But he plays so much bigger than that height, right? He'll go up against guys who are 5 or 6 inches taller than him, and he'll just overwhelm them. There's a play on film. He's standing at the free throw line. An opponent for NC State catches the ball in the dunker spot. He takes 2 steps and annihilates him at the rim for a block. Like, it's just unbelievable the stuff that this kid can do every single day. And he really is like the connecting piece for this Miami team that has a chance to be really, really good. I don't know if they're going to be able to win the ACC just with this, how the schedule is going to ramp up. But this is a team that can absolutely make the Elite Eight like they did last year. I mean, again, they were 1/2 away from making the Final Four last year. I feel like a lot of people don't remember that. They had Kansas dead to rights after that first half in the Elite Eight. And this is a Jim Larrañaga team that is, again, super, super scary.
All right, your overrated team is the defending national champs who have lost 4 of their last 6. Last time out, it was turnovers all over the place. What's wrong with the Jayhawks?
Yeah, every team is graded on a different curve. And I feel like early in the season, we thought Kansas could win the national title. As currently constructed and where they're trending right now, I don't think that's fair with where they're at. They're really thin. They're not really getting a lot off of their bench right now. And even in the starting lineup, it doesn't feel like they have a lot of offensive pop outside of Jalen Wilson. And we've seen some really good defensive teams like TCU and Iowa State go, hey, Jalen Wilson, you go get 25, you go get 30, you can go get 35. We don't care, but we're not going to let anybody else really get going. And he's not able to carry a team solo. Grady Dick has been one of the best freshmen in college basketball, but his three-point jumper has not been very good recently. You're seeing DeJuan Harris has struggled to get his offensive game going. Kevin McCullar's been up and down this year. So I think in theory, I really like this Kansas team. They have like the pieces defensively, but they're so thin, and these starters are being relied upon to play 35, 36, 37 minutes. And if this bench doesn't ever come together, I just don't understand how like this Kansas team can make a deep run. Like, they don't have that Remy Martin second string guy who can come in and go get you 15, 16 points in the NCAA tournament. There's just so much of a load on these top players. And if the rest of the depth doesn't come together, I just don't see Kansas as a team that can win the national title. Like, if we're making our national title list today, Kansas is in that top 10. I don't know if they're in that top 5 or 6. They're not really in that inner tier of teams that I think can cut the nets down in early April, just with how lack of depth that they have right now.
Well, to your point about Jalen Wilson needing support, he had 26 points against Iowa State. All of his teammates combined for 27, and it doesn't get any easier. 3 top 20 teams in their next 5 games. All right, awesome insight as usual, Isaac. Thanks so much. And for more college basketball news and analysis, like this video and subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel.